Hello team and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video. This is a Ukraine War breaking news update before I do my proper news pieces for today. This is Boxing Day, or as many of you will know it, the 26th of December 2023. There has been another bad day for the Russians in terms of big losses. We've seen them lose... Partner's just showing me she's drinking Bucks Fizz through the window. No, I'm fine, thanks. Good on the tea, thank you. Whew, it's been pretty hardcore for the best of us. Anyway, as I was saying, because this is much more serious than what's going on in my kitchen, the Russians have had a pretty bad week at the office. They have lost 3 aircraft in one fell swoop, and then 3 Su-34s in one fell swoop the other day to a Patriot, then a Su-34 again, and then a Su-30 SM, I think it was. So they have lost 5 aircraft in short succession. And then last night they lost a landing craft. Let's first look to what some of the Russian sources are saying. The large landing ship Novocherkassk was damaged, merely damaged, in a nighttime launch of Storm Shadow cruise missiles at Feodosia, according to Russian Defense Ministry. Several Ukrainian Su-24Ms took off from Starokonstantinov, which is constantly fired at by the Russian air and space forces, around 1 a.m. and flew eastward. Right, so this is how the Russians are couching this. Is quite interesting. The launch was carried out near Snihurivka, which is near Kherson. So it's just like, okay, some jets took off from Starokonstantinov, but we hammer that routinely. And then if you look on other sources, those planes were shot down. So during the anti-aircraft battle, 2 Ukrainian Su-24s that were launching missiles were destroyed by air defense systems, the department noted. 1 person died, 2 were injured as a result of the night attack on Feodosia. Transport infrastructure is operating normally after the attack on Feodosia. There are no restrictions on passenger transportation. Large landing ship was damaged in Feodosia whilst repelling an attack by the Ukrainian armed forces using aircraft guided missiles, Russian MOD said. So first of all, what is this ship? On March the 24th, 2022, Russian Novocherkassk landing ship was already hit in another port in occupied Berdyansk, Zaporizhia. Actually, it escaped there. That and its sister ship escaped, and another ship was sunk. According to open data, the Novocherkassk is a landing ship of the Project 775 in service with the Russian Black Sea Fleet, designed for amphibious landing on unequipped coasts and transferring troops and cargo, including various types of armored vehicles and tanks. The ship was built in 1987 at the shipyard in Gdansk in Poland. Ship joined the Black Sea Fleet of the USSR Navy the same year. Larger landing ships of Project 775 are codified by NATO as Ropucha, Polish for frog. Okay, so that's the ship that was hit. Now let's see if it was damaged from what we can see from some of the footage. Tim White says, so to Crimea, and reports of spectacular videos of the explosions in Feodosia, which is approximately 100 kilometers from Kerch Crimean Bridge. This is what Russia's air defense, working perfectly, looks like. That is a big explosion, right? So that's the first thing. The explosions in eastern Crimea are certainly spectacular. This is through someone's window. This is absolutely phenomenal fire and explosion. There's also, there's a port at Feodosia, which is on the east coast of occupied territory. There's also Morskoy Leftyanoy oil terminal, which struck earlier this month. Now, this was earlier when this was just coming out, so Tim White was maybe unsure what was hit. More from Crimea, and slightly longer video, the spectacular fire engulfing Feodosia near the port. It was a big old fire. Now, some of the rumors are that that ship was carrying Shahed drones. Okay, it was transporting Shahed drones, and that could be why it went up spectacularly. This is a more personal perspective. I'm not playing these with sound and whatnot. I will get restricted by YouTube, so I've not done that. But a massive explosion behind this guy there, you can see. And then Russia's patsy in occupied Crimea, Askionov, no longer denies the obvious. Quote, an enemy attack was carried out in Feodosia area. The port area is cordoned off. Detonation has stopped. The fire has been localized. Residents of several houses will be resettled. Unconfirmed reports I'm seeing speculate that the ship transporting attack drones from Iran was struck by Ukraine in the port of Feodosia. So on and so forth. So really, it's more than damage. And we know now that it was more than damage. In fact, it was vaporized. So the landing ship Novotcherkassk burned out in Crimea, says Nexter. Russian Defense Ministry has admitted it was hit but only damaged. Everything's operating in normal mode. This is some of the imagery coming out of there. And you can see even in the morning it was still burning off, and there was talking about it cooking off for some time. That's what it would normally look like. And that's the at the front. That's why it's a landing ship. And that's what it can do. The explosion in Feodosia, when the landing ship Novotcherkassk was hit, was of such force that the blast wave blew down signboards, damaged buildings, as well as doors and windows. Russian propagandists, meanwhile, continued to pretend as if nothing happened. Special Kherson Cat has a really long, decent list thread on this. Here's the approximate location. If you don't know where Feodosia is, it's a fairly active port to the southeast of Crimea, not too far from Kerch. It has been hit previously. A ship was hit there not too long ago. It seems that the silhouette of the ship can be traced in the photo. It's possible that it was the target. So that's one of the images cropped there to show that it looked like it was a ship. Secondary detonations were heard. Russian media began reporting about explosions. And then just, look at this. I mean, goodness me, that is a big old explosion going on there. So on and so forth. So lots of imagery coming out of that explosion there. There's no way that is just merely damaged. That support Feodosia yesterday, although I'm not sure it happened there. It might have happened somewhere over to the right. According to the commander of the Ukrainian Air Force of Ukraine, Russian landing ship Novotcherkassk was destroyed in Feodosia during tonight's attack. So there is a different narrative coming out from the Ukrainians. The landing ship Novotcherkassk was damaged, according to the Russians, of course, as mentioned already, and that 2 Su-34s also taken out. And two people were injured. 2 people were wounded in the attack, and 1 died. 6 buildings were damaged. 6 people were evacuated to temporary accommodation centres. Now, this is a first photo that has subsequently come out, and essentially that is where the ship was, and that is where the ship no longer is. It appears to have been pretty much vaporized. It is a non-ship. This is an interesting analysis here, a bit of kind of sort of things you would expect in a geolocation. That's the Z up there in that yellow square. That's the what's left of the funnel. That's what's left of this back sort of radar installation or whatever it is. I mean, goodness me, that is not a ship. And that's all you need to know. So first of all, this tells you a number of things. One, the Ukrainians have capabilities and the ability to render ships non-ships with some ease. Why they haven't done this more often is, one would assume, they don't have enough of these missiles. Give them enough missiles, they will hammer the hell out of the Russians around the Black Sea. And I don't think Novorossiysk would even be safe, personally, myself. So what are we waiting for? We give them the right stuff, they do this. They do this often enough, the war ends. It's that simple. I mean, so this is Yuri Ignat saying, we saw how powerful the explosion was, what the detonation was. It is extremely difficult for that ship to survive after this. Okay, true. Ben Hodges says, quite correctly, imagine if Ukraine had another 100 ATACMS Taurus, Storm Shadow or Scalp. Crimea would be an untenable base for Russia. No navy, no air force, no drone launchers against innocent civilians, no logistics hubs to sustain Russian defences in southern Ukraine, no Kerch Bridge. There you go. This is a good advert for the Ukrainians in terms of getting more kit more sustainably. It just needs to happen. On the other hand, the Russians are slightly worried in some sources. If we look at the situation with the strikes of the Ukrainian armed forces on large landing craft as a whole, we have the following. This is what a Russian source is saying. The enemy is systematically knocking out our large landing craft, which in addition to performing current logistics tasks are also a reserve in case of damage to the Crimean bridge. Actually, they've taken out a number of these ships now. After the majority of the large landing craft are disabled, the enemy can launch another attack on the Crimean Bridge, as well as systemize attacks on the crossings in north of Crimea. After this, the enemy will publicly announce the blockade of Crimea, which will create an argument for increasing the supply of long-range weapons. Absolutely. Rewind to Ben Hodges. This is a great advert. If they can do this, we just need to give them more, and this will be the quickest end to the war. Give them what they need, and they will succeed. There you go. There's even a catchy maxim for you to use. Give them what they need, and they will succeed. But this is a huge bit of news. It adds on to the aircraft losses of this last week, and adds on to the other Black Sea fleet losses that the Russians have sustained over the last, well, in the entirety of the war. Their Black Sea fleet has been really quite fundamentally reduced. They are not the navy in the area that they previously were, and the Russians are showing that they really are vulnerable. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think down below. Toodle pips, and I'll get on with the news pieces.